Here's the claim, plainly, in the first 30 seconds, because I think episode 9 just told us this out loud and almost everyone heard it as a throwaway line. From is not a time loop, it is not a prison, it is not at its core a rescue. From is a ritual stuck mid-performance, and the escape plan everyone is risking their lives on right now is the sacrifice being re-performed in costume. The residents think they're going down into that grave to undo the original crime. I think they're going down there to finish it. Two chosen people, lowered into a child's grave, beneath a sacred tree grown from those children, to handle their remains, in a very specific way that a higher power insists must be done correctly. That is not an excavation, that is a ceremony. And the priest running it is the man in yellow. Stay with me, because once you see the dig as a rite instead of a rescue, every confusing thing about this season, why the man in yellow allows it, why it has to be exactly two people, why Victor is screaming, why the show keeps reincarnating the same souls, snaps into one shape, and it reframes the entire finale. I want to ground this before I build it, because the frame isn't mine, the show handed it to us most explicitly in episode 9. When the man in yellow wearing Sophia lays out his read on the bone plan, he says the thing that should have stopped the whole fandom cold. The town was built on ritual, which means it isn't enough to do the right thing. It matters how you do it, not just what you do. And then, and this is the tell, he's perfectly content to let Boyd and the others keep digging, as long as they look likely to do it wrong. Read that carefully. The most deceptive being in the show, the one whose entire existence is manipulation, is not trying to stop the dig, he is supervising it. He cares about one thing, the method, the ritual, the how. You do not supervise the method of a thing you want to fail. You supervise the method of a thing you want performed correctly. That single line, it matters how, not what, is the show telling you the dig is a procedure with a right and a wrong way to run it. And there's only one procedure in this town's history that ever had a sacred exact method attached to it. The sacrifice, the founding rite. He's not guarding the exit, he's officiating. Now rewind, because the ritual logic was never hidden, we just called it the rules. Think about how this town actually operates from the very first episode. The monsters only come at night. They can't enter unless you let them in. The talismans work by being placed exactly in the right spot, the right way. Nothing here is ever free. Every gift has a price that comes due later. That is not the physics of a normal world. That is the logic of a rite. Precise conditions, exact methods, costs and offerings, a price for every boon. We've been living inside a ceremony since the pilot and reading the ceremony's laws as horror movie rules. And look at how the town does business, because it's all exchange. Sarah's whispers asking for a price, Clara's bargain on arrival, the man in yellow's deals. The immortality itself, received only by giving something up. Nothing in Fromville is simply taken. Everything is traded with terms on a schedule. That's not how a prison works. A prison just holds you. This place negotiates. Offerings, exact terms, a price for every gift. That's the grammar of ritual, not incarceration. And the origin the show gave us is flatly a ritual. The original townspeople didn't just murder children. They made an offering, children's lives, given to something in the dark, in exchange for immortality, a price paid for a power received. The children, as they died, performed a counter-rite of their own. They poured their hope into the roots, and it became the symbol and the trees. Two rituals, one night braided into the ground. So when the show tells you in season 4 that the town was built on ritual, it's not being vague. The foundation of this place is a ceremony that was performed once, and a ceremony, in folklore, in every tradition the show is borrowing from, is not a one-time event. It's a thing that recurs, a thing that can be rerun, a thing that if interrupted or done wrong demands to be completed. That's the cycle. Everyone calls Fromville a loop. I don't think it loops. I think it's a ceremony that didn't finish, trying every cycle to finish. Here's the heart of it. Lay the season 4 bone plan next to the founding sacrifice and watch them become the same event, the original rite. A group brought children to a sacred site, the place that became the bottle tree, grown from those children's roots, and gave them to the dark in a specific way, for a price. The season 4 rescue. A group sends 2 people down into that exact site, the grave beneath the bottle tree, to take hold of those same children's remains, in a way the officiating power insists must be done correctly. Same site, same children, same insistence on method. The only thing that's changed is the marketing. The first time they called it a sacrifice. This time they're calling it a rescue. But strip the labels and the choreography is identical. People gathered at the children's grave, under the tree, performing an exact procedure over the children's bodies, supervised by the entity that benefits. And look at what episode 9 adds that makes this airtight. It has to be 2 specific people. Tabitha is certain only she and Jade can descend because the talisman depicts two figures, and she's sure those two are them. Rescues don't require exactly two credentialed participants. Rituals do. A rite has officiants, specific roles that specific people must fill, or it doesn't take. The talisman isn't showing them a safety instruction. It's showing them the ceremony's cast list. And that how not what line means they're almost certainly doing it his way without knowing. A rite has correct elements, the rite officiants, too, the rite site, the grave under the tree, the rite offering, the children, and an intent. The residents think their intent is rescue. But here's the trap in it. He doesn't need them to mean the sacrifice. He needs them to perform it. They're executing every correct motion of the original rite while believing they're reversing it, which is exactly the wrong way that suits him because the form is all that matters. Belief is optional. Choreography is everything. The most dangerous ritual is the one the participants think is the opposite of what it is. Here's where I'll mark the one real leap, because that's the deal on this channel. Canon is, the town runs on ritual, method matters, it must be two people, and the site and the children are the same as the founding sacrifice. The leap is that the dig is that sacrifice re-performed rather than just resembling it. I think the resemblance is too complete and too supervised to be coincidence, but that connection is mine, not a line of dialogue. Everything it's built on, though, is on screen. Now, the piece that turns this from clever to devastating, and it's the reincarnation reveal. Read through the ritual frame. We know Tabitha is Miranda and Jade is Christopher. We know they were the one couple who refused, the parents who would not give their children up when everyone else made the trade. And we know the town brings them back, life after life, and the children appear to them chanting, "Remember." Everyone reads that as hope, the good parents returning to finally save the kids. But run it through the rite, a ceremony that was performed incompletely because not everyone participated, because two people refused, is a ceremony with a hole in it. And what does a ritual stuck mid-performance need to finally complete? It needs the holdouts to perform their part. That's why the town keeps pulling Miranda and Christopher back, not to let them save the children, to get them, this time, to do the thing they refused to do the first time. The rite has been waiting generations for its missing officiants, and in episode 9, those exact two people volunteer to descend into the children's grave and put their hands on the bones, the refusers finally stepping up to the altar. The town didn't reincarnate its heroes. It resummoned the two participants its ceremony was missing, and dressed the summons up as a rescue so they'd come willingly. Miranda already died at that tree once, reaching for those children. We've been calling that a tragic failed rescue. What if it was a rehearsal that didn't take, and this is the cycle the town finally gets her to finish the part? And it tells you what the boy in white really is. If the town keeps resummoning the two who refused, then the boy in white, who the show hints is a past version of Tabitha and Jade, is the refusal itself given a face. The part of them that once said no, walking the town every cycle, trying to reach the new officiants before the ceremony does. That's why he tells Victor not to pull the tree. He isn't hindering a rescue. He's the holdout's own refusal, trying to deliver the one word that breaks any right don't one more time to people who've forgotten they ever said it. This is the question the ritual frame answers that nothing else does cleanly. Why does the man in yellow help? He killed Jim for getting close. He's terrifying, all-powerful, a shapeshifter who can be anyone. If the Bones plan were his defeat, he'd end it in an afternoon. Instead, he watches it, nudges it, and only ever cares whether it's done right, because he's not the obstacle, he's the master of ceremonies. And every bit of his episode 9 sabotage reads as stagecraft once you see it that way. He poisons Fatima and accelerates her into a creature, clearing the board of the one person who could disrupt the rite by controlling a monster. He sabotages the latter, not to kill the officiants, but to make sure no one comes up early and breaks the procedure. He plants Clara and Sarah as insiders, not to attack, but to keep the ceremony on script and on time. And notice how he stabs it. He promised Clara a way out if she'd help, then collected the exact deal the founders took, immortality for cooperation, scaled down. He isn't just running the rite, he's recruiting its acolytes the same way the first one was staffed, with scared people trading their conscience for an exit. And when Elgin stumbled onto the truth, the answer wasn't a monster, it was a door, quietly closed. You don't loose a beast on someone who threatens a ceremony. You just remove them so the service isn't disturbed. He even confirms the method matters and then steps back. That's not a villain losing control of a plan, that's a priest making sure the congregation hits its marks. This is the same thing we argued in the delegating breakdown, but deeper. He's not just getting them to do his work. He's getting them to perform his sacrament, willingly, precisely, believing it's salvation. The cruelest possible version of getting what you want. The holdouts walk to the altar on their own feet and thank you for the chance. And here's the proof the ceremony is bigger than the tunnel, because there's a second altar, and it's a cell. All season, the man in yellow has been working Henry toward one act: sever his anchor, which means kill Victor, his own son. Sit with the shape of that because it's the founding rite in miniature. The original sacrifice was parents giving up their children to the dark for a reward. And here is the man in yellow standing over a father, whispering that if he'll just give up his son, he gets the prize, the perfect life, his family whole again. That's not a side plot. That's the same ceremony run on a smaller altar at the same time. The town isn't performing the sacrifice once, next week, in one hole in the ground. It's performing it in two places at once, two officiants in the grave, and a father in a cell being walked step by step to the exact choice Miranda and Christopher refused. If Henry gives up Victor, the rite gets its missing piece a second way, a parent finally making the trade. The dig and the cell are the same sacrament with two congregations. And the fact that the show keeps Victor locked up, isolated, reachable, isn't the town being careless. It's setting the second altar. And every ceremony has someone trying to stop it, the heretic. And the show gave us two this episode. The boy in white tells Victor flatly, do not let them pull down the bottle tree. Victor believes him, tries to intervene, screams for them to listen, and the town's response is to handcuff him and lock him in a cell. Read that through the rite. The one figure aligned with the children's hope, the boy in white, is trying to prevent the ceremony from being completed wrongly. And the one resident who will listen gets removed from the room so the rite can proceed uninterrupted. They didn't just doubt Victor, they cleared the heretic out of the temple. And notice the bottle tree itself. It grew from the children's hope, the counter-rite, the good thing they made. Pulling it down isn't opening a door. It's dismantling the one ritual working against the sacrifice. The boy in white isn't trying to trap them by saying don't pull the tree. He's trying to stop them from tearing down the children's own protection as the final step of the enemy's ceremony. The finale is literally called If a Tree Falls in the Forest. The rite's last move has a title. If it's a rite, the people stop being just characters and start being roles. Here's the order of service, and it's the Part 1 died screenshot. The officiants, Tabitha and Jade. The two figures on the talisman, the reincarnated holdouts, finally taking their places at the altar. The rite can't complete without exactly them. The offering, the children, their bones, their remains, the thing the whole ceremony is performed over. The same offering as the first time, the altar, the bottle tree, and the grave beneath it. The sacred site, charged by both rituals from the founding night. The finale's title is its name. The priest, the man in yellow, doesn't force, doesn't fight. Officiants. Insists only on method, keeps the ceremony on script. The acolytes, Sophia and Clara, prepare the space, remove obstacles, keep everyone on their marks. The ladder, the poison, the insider whispers. The heretics, Victor and the boy in white, try to halt the rite, get removed. The congregation, the rest of the town, present, participating, certain they're at a rescue. Lay it out like that, and you can see the whole season was an order of service we mistook for a season of television. So here's the reframe, and it's the scary one. The reason the rescue feels like a trap is that the rescue is the rite. You cannot escape a ceremony by performing it correctly. Doing the dig right, the way the man in yellow keeps insisting, doesn't undo the sacrifice. It completes it. The only way out of a ritual is to break it. And that flips the entire emotional logic of the show. For 4 seasons, we've rooted for these people to be brave, to stop hiding, to act, to finally do something. But in a ritual, action is the danger, and refusal is the power. The town wins every time the residents do something because every plan is just another way to run the rite. The one move it has no counter for is the one Miranda and Christopher made, and the one Victor keeps screaming for: stop, don't dig, don't pull the tree, leave the dead where they lie. The bravest thing anyone in Fromville can do isn't descend into that grave, it's refuse to, which gives clean predictions for the finale. 1. The falsifiable one. If the dig is the right rerun, then completing it correctly will not free anyone, it'll repay the sacrifice. More death, the cycle renewed or worsened. The test that proves me wrong. If pulling the tree and recovering the bones the right way leads to liberation, this theory's dead. I don't think it will. I think the right way is the wrong way. 2. The rite completes through the officiants. Watch for the finale to demand that Tabitha or Jade make the original choice, to give something or someone up at the altar, each other, or a child. The ceremony needs the holdouts to participate, which means it needs one of them to finally do what Miranda and Christopher refused. The horror beat, the rescue turning at the last second into the sacrifice. 3. Breaking the rite is the only exit, and the heretics were right. The actual escape won't be finishing the procedure. It'll be someone refusing it mid-performance, interrupting the ceremony, leaving the bones, not pulling the tree. Victor and the boy in white will be vindicated. Refusal was the answer the first time too. It's literally what made Miranda and Christopher special. 4. Remember means remember the rite. Ankui. The children aren't only asking to be remembered as people, they're trying to make Tabitha and Jade remember what this is, that the thing being staged as a rescue is the ceremony that killed them before the officiants complete it. The plea is a warning. 5. The two altars converge. Expect the finale to cut between the grave and Henry's cell because they're the same ceremony, and expect one to trigger the other. If Henry makes the trade at the same moment Tabitha and Jade reach the bones, that's the rite completing on both altars at once. The shot the season is building toward isn't a creature lunging. It's two sacrifices finished in the same minute, one dressed as a rescue, one dressed as mercy. We've spent 4 seasons watching these people try to escape, and calling each attempt a rescue. Episode 9 quietly told us they were never rescues, they were rehearsals. The town was built on a ritual, the show said it plainly. A ceremony where trusted people brought children to a tree in the dark and gave them up for a reward. That rite was left unfinished because 2 people refused. And ever since, the town has been bringing those 2 back, cycle after cycle, dressing its ceremony in the language of hope and walking them a little closer to the altar each time. This season, it got them to volunteer. 2 officiants, the children's grave, the sacred tree, the exact method an unseen priest insists upon, and a whole congregation certain they're about to be saved. So when you watch the finale, watch it as a ceremony, not a rescue. Watch who insists on doing it the right way, and remember that the right way is his way. The children aren't down there waiting to be saved. They're down there trying to get the 2 people who once refused to refuse again, before the rite they've been trapped inside for generations finally, this time, completes. And if I'm right, the cruelest part isn't the monsters, or the dark. It's that the town found a way to make good people commit the original sin by convincing them it's the cure. Miranda and Christopher were the only 2 who ever refused, and the whole long game has been patiently teaching their reincarnations to finally say yes with a shovel in their hands and hope in their chests. A sacrifice you volunteer for, believing it's a rescue, is still a sacrifice. The smile on the priest's face is just relief that you showed up. Tell me in the comments, when Tabitha and Jade go down into that grave next week, are they breaking the ritual or finishing it? Make your case. Best answer goes in the finale breakdown. That's what we do here, one grounded theory at a time, every leap labeled. Subscribe, because the finale's going to need explaining, and I'll have it the moment it drops.